Hello and welcome to another beginner's piano lesson here at LearnPianoLive.com. This is a beginner's lesson, so the assumption is you know nothing about piano. You don't know the letters, you don't know how to read music, you don't know any chords. If that's you, you're in the right place. We're starting at the very, very, very basics. So really the keys to this lesson is to ask a whole lot of questions. This is you and me, so you got to ask whatever questions you have so that I, as your teacher, can help you out and know what you need. Now, if you are an absolute beginner, you might want to check out the Absolute Beginners Lesson Pack in the video store, because that'll kind of walk you through some of the very, 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 very basics that most beginning piano students have. It's free. Just go check it out in the video store. And there's a couple other things too that I want to talk to you about before this countdown clock hits 0. All right, first and most important, ask a lot of questions. The way that you're going to do that is there's a couple different ways. You can jump in the chat room and talk with the other students who are logged in at the same time. I'll be watching the chat room too. You can ask your questions there. Or if it's a question that's just for me, a question about the lesson, especially if you know it's one that's going to fit best at the question and answer time at the end, then you can just put your name and your question in the box below this video, click submit, and then I will get that. Now, if you're already in the archives, if you're watching this not live, but you're watching this in the archives, then make sure at the end of the lesson you click on the survey button. You don't have to fill out the entire survey. If you want to, I mean, I'd love your feedback, but really the best part of that is that you can put your question in there, and then when you click submit, then I will get all of your questions. I'll make sure that you get them answered, whether you're in the archives or you're live. Right next to this video, there should be a PDF button and an MP3 button. Now, you don't really need those till after the lesson because I'm going to be showing you on screen the PDF and showing you how to use it. And I'll play the MP3 during the lesson too, so you know at the end of the lesson how you're going to use that. Some people, though, like to print out the PDF ahead of time, so as I'm making notes on my version, they can make the same notes on their version, but it works either way. All right, this is perhaps the most important part. You need to leave the lesson when you feel like you're sufficiently challenged. So, I'm teaching these lessons, 12 to 15 lessons a month. Normally in traditional lessons, you're getting like a lesson every other week or so. So this is just way too much for you to take in. So, the goal is for you to get some little nugget of something that you can really practice on, really work on. Once you feel like you have that, then you really don't need anything else from me. Go practice. That's where this stuff is really gonna happen. You're not going to get through this lesson and be able to play something really well. You're going to get through this lesson and have the information that you need to practice more effectively. That's really the goal here. So don't feel bad about taking off early. If you feel like halfway through the lesson you got as much as you can take in at that time, then go practice that thing, and then come back whenever you've got that thing down, or you're bored with it, or you just want to check out the next topic. Don't forget also that you've got the archives too. So if you want to see one little thing, just repeat it over and over and over. Just give me, hopefully within 24 hours after the lesson, this thing will be up in the archive, so you can just go back and watch it over and over and over and over and just get that little segment down. All right, today we're doing everybody's favorite topic. Out of the 8 sectors of musicianship, the one that everybody always likes the most is application. That's where you finally actually get to play a song. So if you've been here for the last couple weeks, you'll notice a lot of the same concepts popping up today, because we're going to take those concepts, we're going to apply them to a very specific song. If you haven't been here, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to play all of our little concepts. So hopefully at the end of today's lesson, you'll have all the tools to practice an actual real song that you can play for your friends and impress them. Let's go. Welcome back. Let's do this song. I'm excited about this. This is Can't Help Falling in Love with You. And I have taken a lot of your suggestions that you have given in the last few weeks and incorporated them into this lesson, which we will almost surely run out of time to cover all of them. So give me more feedback about how each of these different changes helps or hurts the lesson. This Wednesday is going to be a reharmonization lesson. So for those of you who have been requesting that, we're going to ditch the format that we did last week for this week. It's coming back later. And then we're going to do a reharm lesson on Wednesday. Let's check this out, though. So the song is Can't Help Falling in Love with You. There's that one girl, what is she? One Jewels and Roses. gave us permission to use her video at the intro to this lesson. So here we go. This is the piano version of that song. See what I'm doing. I'm sorry. How about that? Second half. This is there we go. Do this. You can totally do this. So the first thing that we're adding in here is each of the individual chords. So I've listed all those on the next page. The basic idea here is that each little chunk of beats, it's called a measure, like from here to here. There's like, depending on how you want to count it, I've decided to count it as 6. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next chunk, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So like a chunk of beats, like the thing that would like make you sway in change direction while you're swaying, is a chunk of about 6 beats in there. The way that I'm counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then during that first chunk, you're playing a D chord, and the D chord is just this right here, a D and an F sharp and an A for the D chord. So all the rest of these here are listed for you. If you prefer the sheet music version, we have that right there. But that's the idea. You would match up each of those notes, D chord right there for that chunk, and the word for that is wise. On men, you have a different chord there. It's an F sharp minor, so that is also listed on the next page. So like the first step on this song would be to just play through each of the chords and try to get them all at the right time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B minor 2, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, for example, right here, this A is going to get 2 chunks of beats. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, since there's not a new chord on that next chunk. So you would just get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for that A chord. And I guess we could zoom in for this part here. So then we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I can't help falling in love with you. Now, I know for a lot of you, that's all you're looking for because you're wanting to sing along with your playing. So you just need the chords here. You don't really even need the melody. Once we have that down, then we talk about voicing and stuff like that, like we'll do on Wednesday when we do our reharmonization thing. But just getting those chords down, and they can be in any order. So like that's kind of the first rule of voicing, or like deciding which D's and F sharps and A's you're going to use for the D chord is just trying them in different positions. So right here on the D chord, for example, that's a D, that's an F sharp, that's an A. But it can be like D and F sharp and A, or D and F sharp and A, or D and F sharp and A. These are all different ways to play the exact same chord. So these are all different ways to play a D. So you just try them out and see which ones you like, and then try all of them out. Go through and like decide, okay, so I'm gonna, whatever the name of the chord is, I'm gonna put that note at the bottom. That's the way all these are listed here. So that's a D chord where a D is on the bottom. But then the next time you go through the song, once that you have that all ironed out, and we're talking, maybe weeks or perhaps months, or if you don't really practice much at all, maybe years on just working on those chords, getting them all at the right time. Honestly, I mean, it could be a couple weeks if you get some good regular practice in, and you've never done a song before. So that one right there, and play all of them with the name of the chord, what we call the root, at the bottom. And then you would go through and you would play all of them through, but using them all with the root in the middle. So you would still play the D and the F sharp and the A during the D chord part, but you'd put that D in the middle of those other notes. Or our other option would be to put that D on the top with the F sharp and the A down below, and play all of the chords like that with the name of the chord, the root, at the top of the chord. So going through and playing those would be like, that's huge. That's a couple weeks worth of work for each one of those different variations. Or if you've already played songs before and you already know your D in your inversions and stuff, then you're not an absolute beginner. So you're kind of in the wrong lesson. But anyway, it'll be shorter for future songs. In case this is the first song you're working on, don't get depressed with how long it takes. You just gotta get familiar with these chords. There's like 24 main chords that you'll ever use. So, this song is going to use up, however many this is. It's going to use up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a third of the chords that you will ever use. I think my math was right. I don't know. I'm a piano teacher, not a mathematician. 8 times 3, I guess that's even a piano teacher should be able to do that one. So then, back at this thing, we have this one other thing called slash chords. So right here, this is a slash chord. So the first part of that chord, this guy right here, that's what your right hand is going to play. It's the top part of the chord. And then in most cases, almost all the time, if you got a D chord up here, all you're going to do with your left hand is play a single D, whatever the name of the chord is, the root of the chord. You're going to play that with your left hand, that single note. So you'd play that thing right there, and you play that right there. Well, in the case of a D over A or a D slash A, like a fraction, back to that math thing, we got a D over not D, a D over A. So zoomed out, that looks something like this. Or if I was going to put this A down lower, like that could be a D over A. That could be a D over A. That's getting powerful. That's a D over A. So these are all D over A's, and then of course we have those different inversions for this. So we can play D, F sharp, and A in different. These are all D's and F sharps and A's. So that's a D over A. That's a D over A. That's a D over A. Jamin, how do I know which one's the right one to play? Whichever one either is most difficult to do or you think sounds best. Yeah, I'm not really going to answer that question. What's the right one yet? We'll get there. For right now, you need to be able to do all of them. In music, we always want to make our decisions based on what we want to hear or what sounds we want to create, as opposed to the things that we're currently capable of doing. So if we play this chord right here, we want to play that chord because that's the one that really sounds best. That's the version of D that fits the best right there to our own ears. And then, instead of playing that one because that's the only way that we know how to play a D, in the same way that any of your vocabulary, you want to have a big enough vocabulary that you can use the word that you best think fits in that scenario, as opposed to like best fits in that situation or best fits in that moment, or all these different words I could put in there, but I'm choosing the one that I want, as opposed to only having one word that would go there. That would make me always sound lame. Like if lame was the lamest word that I knew, that would be an example of a lame vocabulary, I guess. So then Moving on, we've got D over F sharp there. That's all normal stuff. I think the rest of those chords are pretty straightforward. Let me show you how this would go, though. We also have a repeat in here. So let's go to your track, your MP3 download. Sounds something like this. So D, F sharp minor, B minor, D over A, G, D over F sharp, A, and then G, A, B minor, E minor, D over A, D, and then you would repeat that whole entire thing. So F sharp minor, B minor, D over A, G. So right here is where we would put in a little like repeat sign right here. That is, in music, that is a repeat sign. That means just go back and play that whole entire thing again. So we'd have that whole thing repeated, and then once I get to this F sharp minor thing, I can't help falling in love with you. And then here we go, like a river, F sharp minor to D flat major, F sharp minor, D flat major, F sharp minor, D flat, F sharp minor, B, E minor to A, D, F sharp minor, B minor, D over A, G, D over F sharp, A, G, A, B minor, E minor, D over A, the whole thing. So that top part does repeat. We'll talk about why tomorrow. But for right now, let's move along because we've been spending a long time on these chords. And this is the thing that we've been doing in the past with the numbers and the key. So this thing is in the key of D. In the key of D. In the key of D just means that the notes that you're going to use in this song almost entirely is going to be a D, an E, an F sharp, a G, an A, a B, a C sharp, and a D. Those notes are going to sound pretty cool pretty much all the way through this whole entire song. So when we go back to the beginning, we can just like mess around with these notes. These notes right here. Almost the whole entire song, those notes right there are the notes that are going to sound good, and all the rest of them, meaning this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, those are going to sound bad pretty much through the entire song. Those are not going to really fit in anywhere. Okay, keeping that in mind and numbering, D is the most important because it's kind of like the home base for the entire song. Then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1. And those would kind of be our numbers, our main numbers. This 1 right here just starts back over again. That'd be a 2 after that. So 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So then with those numbers, we should be able to play all of these numbers and say these words. Wise, we would say 1. Men, we would say 5. Say, we would say 1. So we'd go wise, men, say. Only fools rush in. And now we have like the actual, if you didn't want to sing along with this thing, this is what we would call the melody. But I can't help. So this is the part that actually sounds like the song. Because if you just like out of context sat down at a piano at your friend's house and played, that all is the right chords with the right timing and junk, but they wouldn't necessarily know what song it was. You'd be like, oh, it's pretty, and I think I might have heard it before, but I don't really know what it is. But if you don't play any chords, you just play, like, I might have heard this before. Oh yeah, I have heard of this before. Oh yeah, this is that one Elvis song. So just by playing those notes alone, someone would be able to recognize the song. So the melody is going to be important if you're not going to sing along, or if someone else isn't going to be singing along. So it's important to get to know those notes. And this is probably for a lot of people, the simplest way to learn it is just get really familiar with the key of D first, and just know all those notes so you can play through them. Maybe not that fast, but you can kind of visualize that a whole entire set of notes, and then just play through these numbers: 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, like that. Yeah. All right. Now, some of you have complained that this is a pain in the butt. So instead, we have this on the next page, which I am not going to go through the absolute beginners video pack at the moment, but these are your basic cheat sheets for which notes are where on the piano. So here is some actual sheet music. If you already have some sheet music reading skills, I know I said at the beginning of the lesson you didn't need any of that, and you don't. This is just for the people who wanted it. So you can. I already hear the email that you're about to write. I don't know how to read sheet music, and you said this was a beginner's lesson. I know. So this is a beginner's lesson. This is just bonus extra stuff here. So this is the way it would look in sheet music, and it's got all of the timing in there. And we'll talk some more about this in our theory lesson tomorrow. But this is basically where all of the notes are located on the lines and spaces. And I said I wasn't going to get into the whole absolute beginners lesson pack here. So if you have not already been through that and you wish you could read that stuff, maybe jump into that in the video store. It's free. And then next after that is going to be our theory lesson. So let's go back here and talk about how we would fit these in together. So with the whole voicing thing, knowing which inversion to use where. Once you get familiar with all of your inversions of each of the chords, if you're not going to sing along, you want to be able to play the melody. You've got the job of 3 different people, 4 actually. The first job that you have is to play the chords. That's the job of the accompanist. So your right hand is going to be the accompanist playing the chords. However, like I said, you have 4 jobs to do. So one of these hands is going to have to do more than one job. Your right hand is also going to play the melody. So we want to play a D chord, but we also want to play a 1 in the key of D, because that's our melody. Wise men say, only fools rush in. So we've got to play a chord and play the melody. Fortunately, this is in that first chord that we want to play. So that we want to play a D chord, but we want that to be the first note. So we're going to play that version of the D chord. It's still got D and F sharp and A, but it's got that melody at the top. That way we can play wise men say, only fools rush in. That's playing all of the chords, but switching up all the inversions based on what is the melody supposed to be, and trying to only play chord tones below the melody. So here's my melody. Here's the rest of that chord. Men, here's the rest of that F sharp minor from men. Say, I need a B minor. Those are the rest of the B minor chords underneath the melody. And then D over A, only fools. That's the rest of my G chord. Rush, that's the rest of my D over F sharp chord. And then in, there's the rest of my A chord. So I'm making all of my chord decisions based on what my melody is and playing only notes that are down below the melody. But of course, it requires that I know the chords, I know the inversions, I know how to play the melody, and that I can do all of that like in real time. So that's several steps away. If this is your very first song, if this is your first lesson, welcome. Glad you could join us. Any one of these skills on its own is a great place to start. And if we were doing traditional lessons, I would just say, just focus on that. Just try to get those first 3 chords. Wise men say. And I wouldn't even tell you that there's such a thing as a melody or an inversion or junk like that. So just start out slow, and like I said, you'll start learning these chords, and then the next song will come along and it'll use some of the same chords. You're like, hey, I've seen an F sharp minor before. I know how to play that one. The rest of these are still confusing. Let me figure out how the rest of those go. And eventually this will all accumulate and you'll be able to play any song, I promise. Okay, so then we've got all of those. We talked about in the inversions. Oh, the other 2 jobs you have. The other 2 jobs you have are the bass player, which is going to be the single finger of your left hand. So you're going to play, wise men say, only fools rush. But I can't help. That's a thing right there. I mean, I think that would probably impress your friends. Take a lot of practice. Chords, inversions, melody, then the roots down here. And except in the case of the slash chords, you play something else. Like on the D over F sharp right there, you play an F sharp down here, even though your right hand is playing a D chord up here. Okay, cool. So then that's that. And then your 4th job is to also be the drummer if you don't have a drummer playing with you. So that means you got to do something to make the audience feel each of those pulses instead of just being a single wise and then men and then say. Only fools. So we needed to do some finger wiggling in there to just make those beats happen. Bum dum dum chum dum 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 chum. So I that might have sounded smooth. It was just like pretty much random notes there that my fingers were already on. So when I'm playing this, I'm just wiggling those 3. Trying to make this as random as possible. Because all of the job really of like making this thing sound cool has already been done with the chord inversions. I'm already playing the melody because I'm going to play that chord and then that chord and then that chord and then that chord and then that one and then that chord and then that chord. So I don't really have to do anything else to make the song happen. So everything else that I do that is not playing that chord in that inversion at that time, everything else is just kind of a bonus extra little decoration. So any of those, in fact, you could even, I shouldn't say that. So if this is your first song, ignore this. But if you are a intermediate or advanced student coming in to sneak in to cheat and learn some of this song before we get to your lesson, then a lot of the notes out of the D major scale are just going to work in the song. So you could... a lot of D major notes in there in between all of the chords and stuff. So anyway, I think that should be it. We should wrap it up right there. So there we go. Wow, that took a second. So our wrap up, we covered a lot of material. First of all, go check out that person's YouTube channel. Thank you for permission to use your video at the beginning of the lesson. We talked about chords and how even though they are listed here on the third page, each of the notes that you're supposed to play for each of them. So for example, an E minor would be an E, and a G, and a B, that you can put those in any order you want. Those putting them in different orders is called inversions. And we talked about how usually your left hand is just going to play the name of the chord. So regardless of what inversion you're playing up here, if we're on an E minor, for all those, you're just going to be playing that E at the bottom. This is all E minor, unless the music specifies otherwise that you're supposed to play something else in the left hand. For example, if you have something that looks like this one right here, that one says D over A. So in the case of D over A, your right hand would play any inversion of the D chord, and your left hand would play the A. That is called a slash chord. And in most cases, slashes, the note that you're playing in the left hand is still going to be one of the notes out of the right hand chord. So D over A, well, that's just one of the notes in the D chord, D and F sharp and A. So most likely you're either going to have a D chord where you have a D in the bass, you're going to have a D over F sharp where you play an F sharp in the bass, or D over A. It's going to be really uncommon to have like a D over C sharp or something like that, something that's not in the actual chord itself. All right, fantastic. Then we talked about the key of D and what this means here with all the numbers and stuff, and just trying to get familiar with the key itself. And then how you want to start seeing this note, that D, as a number 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and know what position you are in the scale so you can play these songs by number. 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. Now, song by number sounds like paint by number, which is like a cheating way of painting, but song by number is definitely not a cheating way of playing. It's probably the most useful way of playing in a lot of cases. At least it has been in my life, because oftentimes you'll be asked to change keys, which is terrifying if you have sheet music in front of you. But if you're just like playing 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, and then they're like, well, I need that in a higher key. Like, well, E is a higher key. You can play 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. Like, no, never mind. I need it slightly lower than that. Well, slightly lower, like an E flat. 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. You can play this same exact song in any key if you're thinking in terms of degrees in the scale instead of the actual notes. But I know some of you want the actual notes, so here are the actual notes. It's a D and then an A and then a D, then an E and then an F sharp, and then a G and then an F sharp, and then an E, with all the timings and everything in there, and the words and junk like that. Tomorrow we're going to be getting into time signatures and key signatures, and really starting to talk about form and how to cover this song and whatnot. But I think for one day, that's enough. I am looking forward to your feedback, what you thought of all of this stuff, and yeah, what we can add for the future, because we'll just keep making it better. Thank you so much for your time and your ideas. And until next time, know that I love you. Good luck. Have fun.